Yo, 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 what is going on, y'all? Welcome to the video. Hope you guys have a good day or a good night. And yeah, let's go and get started on this video. So, today I will be showing you guys how you can fix the issue in APB Reloaded when you're in the social district and you're trying to, for example, say you're trying to do tattoos on your character, or say you're trying to change something on your character, right? Or for example, say you're trying to customize your character, design something, customize your vehicle, any kind of interaction that is done through the kiosk uh, in social district. And when you when you press F to interact with that kiosk, which is the default keybind to interact, F key. Um, when you go into that, when you first press it, there's like a small uh, loading uh, screen time that happens that shows, and some of you guys may have noticed this, some of you may have not, depending on how quick it loads up for you. um, but certain people who have been using configs from other people in the past, aside from me and Flaws, uh, I don't know if anybody else has implemented that fix in there as well or not. um, but basically, when you're using a config, or if you're not sure if it's affecting users who don't use a config as of yet, um, but if you're one of those people who have a loading hanging screen that shows up after you interact in the kiosk, and it just forever keeps saying loading, and it just stays stuck on the screen, um, there's a fix for that, and I will show you that in this video. So if you have the game running up already and you have that issue, go ahead and exit the game. I will show the process of this entirely in full detail so you guys don't miss out on anything. So make sure you feel free to watch the whole video from start to finish. And with that being said, let's go and get started. Now, the fix for this is available in my config. This is something that comes from Flaw's config, so kudos to him for figuring this out. And this is something that affects players in mission districts or Fight Club as well, in terms of the stutters or the lag or the freezes, whatever you want to call it, out of those three things, or the hanging up of the game itself. When you experience that, it is related to this hanging or loading time that happens in the back end of the game. So, but first, let's go and start up our game, and I will show you guys the whole process. So I use my own config here, as you can see. I do not have movies enabled, so you guys will not see that screen when it loads up the game. But yeah. And the reason for that being is that the movies that show up in the game when it's loading, it takes a decent amount of time for it to load. But by cutting that back from the loading time in the screen, it takes away that extra couple seconds that it takes to load up. So it should be popping up here in a bit now. Yep, there you go. So let's go ahead and log in here. And if you haven't already, I recommend you guys to put a two-factor authentication on. Please do it. It is for your own good. It's available to everyone who has an account through Gamers First. Not sure if you can do that through Steam, but I hope you guys have a 2FA on Steam account as well. And it goes for anything in general. Like, if you have an account for anything and you're able to put a two-factor authentication in, please do it. Okay? Use lowercase, use uppercase, use letters, use numbers, use symbols. Make up something that you can easily remember. It doesn't have to be Google generated random letters and numbers. But please do it. It'll help you, and it'll keep your account secure from being hacked by anyone. And in this case, you can do it through the Gamers First website if you have an account there. You go into your account settings, and down in the security or something like that, this says 2FA. Just enable that and create it, download the app on your phone, and then link it, with the code and all. Another thing to note is that there was some issues with adding two-factor authentication on accounts for Gamers First, where it causes the desync to happen. So this is basically where you're trying to put in a number from the app onto this part right here. And even if the code is correct, you press OK and it says it's not. That's related to the desync that happens on the back end. And I don't know why that happens, but in order to fix that part itself, all you have to do is disable tokenize and re-enable it. And you do that the same section that you do to enable 2FA on your Gamers First account through gamersfirst.com website once you log into your account. So you can do that through there. But yeah, once you disable and re-enable it, it should be good to go. But with that being said, let's go ahead and log in here real quick. So doesn't matter, I'll go in Citadel. Going into social district here. Another thing to note is that when you come to this menu here, you don't have to wait until you're inside a mission district or a social district or fight club district to be able to see your frames. Just, once you get into this part here, just type enter, or you can press home to open up the chat box. This is where you can scroll and whatnot. Or you can just hit the // key here and type in FPS and any other commands that you want to put in, and this will show you here right up. So the frames you see in the lobby of this screen is a bit different to what the frames you see in the mission districts itself, as well as social district, because you have actual live players nearby in the instance, and it affects your frames as well as your latency. So another thing to note, so keep that in mind. And for example, say you're logging into the game, you're logging into your character, you're up here in the lobby screen, and someone sends you a group invite or a clan invite or a friend invite, any kind of invite that is sent to you, and you're on this screen here, all you have to do is type out the command for it to accept it. So if someone sends me a group invite, it would basically be /group accept. And you can see right now I don't have any group invite pending, so it says that, but all you have to do is type group accept. And you can see these commands if you press F10. Mine's a little bit different here because of my config I'm running. Yours would look a little bit different, and of course without the colors. But you'd basically, you don't have to wait until you get into the district and like, oh, I got to spam to get in, so that takes up time. Once you load into the district, that takes up time. Then you got to wait to spawn in. That takes up a bit of time. And then you have to press the Y or N key to accept or decline the invite. This is too long to wait, This is quicker. So another thing to note there. With that being said, let's go and go into social district here. So we'll go and spawn in, go to any kiosk, it doesn't really matter. I'll just go down over here because it's closer. So if you happen to notice this error when you're interacting with the kiosk, and when I say kiosk, I'm talking about these things right here. This is a kiosk, right? This is for a vehicle. This is vehicle kiosk. Garage kiosk, same thing. And then, there's like a whole bunch of other kiosks loaded on this map. But basically, you get this. And see? There you go. You get stuck on something like this, right? It says loading here in the middle, and you can't do anything. And it just stays like that. So in order to fix this, right, you have to, at this point, shut the game down. Because you can't do anything. You can't exit the lobby. You can't do anything except, this screen popping up. But of course, even within this screen, there isn't anything that you can do. So at that point, just exit the game. You can do Alt F4, or you can do Control Alt Delete, open up the Task Manager. And as you can see, I can bring that up. Find APB reloaded, right click, end task. You can do it that way, or you can just do Alt F4. May not work because I'm not in I'm in full screen borderless, so it probably works if you're in full screen windowed, or full screen. You can try that out. But I know for a fact if you do Control Alt Delete, open up Task Manager, right click on APB, and then End Task, and it works fine. So what at this point, in order to fix that issue, what you're gonna have to do is go into the folder where your APB reloaded game is. Go into that folder, go into engine folder, and within that engine folder, you're going to find a file that says base engine, and it's a .ini file. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you download something like Notepad++. It's not required, but it is recommended that you install an editing program like this, which makes it easy to edit code, navigate through the things, and visually it's just a better look. So if not, the regular Notepad works. You'll just have a little bit of hard time trying to figure things out visually because everything is in the same font color and whatnot. So we'll go ahead and open up here, and I can show you the whole process. So go to where your APB reloaded game is. Okay, I don't play through Steam. I play through Gamers First, so I have Gamers First here. APB reloaded, and that's there. Next, you want to go into the engine folder here. Go into that. You're gonna go into config folder, and you're finding a file that says base engine. So here it is. It's a .ini file. So another thing to note after the implementation of the SARD anti-cheat or the SARD anti-cheat, you cannot edit any files that are not a .ini file or a localization file. So if you edit any file that's not a .ini file, so this is a .ini file. If you're trying to edit something in the game that's not an ini file or a localization file, and when I say localization file, I mean like anything that deals with text. So any kind of text you see in the game is done through the localization file. The language, the text, the wording, all that stuff is done through localization, and it's purely there for looks and preferences. It doesn't edit anything in the game in terms of how it performs, right? So these two files are the only ones that are allowed with the SARD anti-cheat implementation for you guys to feel free to edit however you like. If you try to edit any other file that isn't a .ini file or a localization file, I will tell you this right now, there is a risk of you being banned. So make sure you guys are aware of that. Doesn't matter what somebody else tells you, your account, you have to be prepared for it, right? If you're going to take the risk, then that's on you. So we'll go into base engine here, open it up with Notepad, or double click on it. And there you go. See how you see that certain keywords in here are blue, the signs are red, stuff like that. You wouldn't see that on regular Notepad, right? Everything is going to be like this, all black colored font. So it's going to be hard for you to, see things in terms of code, right? So what you want to do is find a keyword. And when you're finding a keyword, you use Control+F, which brings up the find dialog box, right? You can do it by pressing Control+CF key, or you can just go into search and find, right? So we're trying to find something, and we're going to change the value of it. So that means we need to use replace. So click on replace. If you're doing it through here, it's search and then replace, right? You're trying to find something that says purging, and you want to search in the current document. So click on find next. Here it is. The first line that pops up. Time between purging pending kill objects, right? Now, before earlier I said that this relates to how you perform in mission districts or fight clubs. This is the thing, right? Look at what it says. Time between purging pending kill objects. So the time it takes between something that is pending, right? Pending meaning something that's running in the background to kill something that's not supposed to be running, right? This means that anything that is loading in the background, right? That's not supposed to be loading, like garbage or garbage collection, which is a thing in this game that runs in the background, just processing certain random things that don't need to be processed, which causes your game to freeze and stutter and lag and stuff like that, right? This is the line that deals with that, right? By default, this thing is set to 60. So if you play the game on vanilla settings, you don't have an issue of running into the loading that pops up on the screen on your kiosk, right? This is for people who use configs and don't have the fix implemented in their config, right? For the most part, this thing should be fixed by the latest config releases that most people put out, like Flaws or myself. But this is in case if you run into this kind of issue. But basically, by default, this thing has 60 written in it, which means loading in the kiosks works fine. However, when you're in the Mission District or Fight Club District, you're gonna have stutters, freeze, and lags. That's what this line of code does. It gives enough time for things to load by default. Now, when you change this from 60 to 0, you're basically telling it, hey, don't load anything in the background of the process. I don't need that happening. So you're prioritizing your performance. You're prioritizing playing missions in the Mission District. You're prioritizing playing Fight Club, right? You're basically getting rid of all the things in the background that load up that do not need to be loaded, right? So things that affect your performance and gameplay. You would change that from 60, which is the default value, to 0, right? So changing it from 60 to 0, you're basically telling it, hey, I don't want things running in the background. I don't want anything, literally. 0, right? So that's what that does. However, when you have it set to 0 and you're in the social district and you're trying to interact with the kiosk, like earlier when we looked at the garage kiosk, we were getting that loading hang screen because it's set to 0 in this case, right? I do not know if there's an actual fix for it to where it works on both end. Probably not. So this is something you'd have to just do back and forth depending on what you do the most. If you find yourself if you find yourself in social district a lot, creating things, selling things, etc., just keep it at 60 if you don't care about how you perform in the game, right? Just keep it at 60, which is the default. If you want to maximize your performance and not get any stutters, lags, or freezes, I recommend you to change this from the default 60 to 0 if you're spending your time playing mission districts and fight clubs a lot. Now, it's a given fact that no one is going to be in one district forever, right? So if you want to do missions, no one's just going to be doing missions every day, all day. You're eventually going to go into social district to chill out or meet somebody or do a trade or buy something or create something. So at that point, you would have to exit the game out and change its value. I don't know if there's a fix for it, like I said, to where it works on both ends, vice versa. So this is something you have to manually change each time. So we change this back to 60. We save it. So as you can see, when there's a change, you can see by the color on the Notepad++ that, hey, we committed a change to it and it isn't saved yet, so it's showing up as an orange bar. Same thing up here, right? We got a change going in this file and we haven't saved it, so instead of the blue, the default blue, it shows up as red. So once you make a change in the file, just press Ctrl+S to save it, or you can go in the file and then click on this button right here, save. It's the same thing. Once you save it, you should see that it turns into a green bar, which means it's been saved and you're good to go. As you can see up here, the disk turns from red to a blue color, which indicates that your changes have been saved, right? Once it's been saved, you can exit out of it and open up your game again. All right, so what we did here is I am running a config, and by default, we have it set to 0, which prioritizes your performance in mission districts and Fight Club, which is why we got that error in the kiosk where it just got stuck on the loading hang screen, right? It just says loading, and you can't do anything past it, right? Now, we changed that from 0 to 60, the default value. So this will fix that loading hang screen. It'll take it away, but if you plan on going back into the mission district or Fight Club district, you have to make sure that you change it back to 0 if you don't want any freezes, stutters, or lags happening in the background. There are other things out there that affect all three of those factors to where it stutters, freezes, or lags. That line of code isn't the only thing that causes that change, but it's one of the things that does take an effect. So I recommend you to mess around with it, change it back and forth as you see fit, and so on. So let's go ahead and log back into here. We'll go ahead and head back into the social district. And we'll go back to the same kiosk so you can see that there is no other change. Now, we pressed F, we got into the kiosk. This thing should go away. I did save it at 60, right? Why isn't it working, bro? Well, back to the drawing board. It looks like we messed up something or we forgot to do something here. Yeah, so let's go and fix it. Yeah, okay. So this fix is in my config and I wrote it down so you guys can know what it actually does. I'm just referring back to it for quick note purpose. We changed the base engine.ini file, okay? We changed that from 0 to 60. I wonder if it... I mean, technically it's supposed to have worked. I don't know why it didn't work, but let's try it again. Purging, pending kill objects. Let's see here. And as you guys know, all my videos are raw. I don't cut anything. So we will fix this issue. I feel like people shouldn't be cutting their videos to, you know, play out things that are happening on real time so that people know what's going on. Let's see here. Interesting. It did not save. Was I wonder if I was... Oh, press the wrong key. I wonder if I was... Interesting. Apparently it didn't save, that's why it didn't work. Oh, right. I completely forgot. Another thing, so I said this in another video. But a thing to note is that if you edit any kind of code in any of the .ini files or localization files, once you save those changes, you have to create a new shortcut. So we saved this to 60, right? It's saved in the base engine.ini file. So we have to go back into binaries, find this apb.exe, and create the shortcut to the desktop. So if I use this one, which we did just now earlier, it did not work, right? The change wasn't saved and it wasn't committed to this version of the file or this version of the application. The current saved change would only apply to the newly created shortcut because that current game version is what it's applied to. So that's not gonna work, right? So let's delete that. Go into here, create shortcut to desktop, send to desktop, create shortcut, right here, and we'll start this up. So yeah, I forgot there, but keep in mind, any kind of changes you commit to a file, you have to create a new shortcut for that change to apply. And some people already know this, some people don't, and that's why they have an issue. It's like, oh, I put this file in there, oh, I did this kind of change in there, but it's not committing. It's not, it's not reflecting that change. Oh, I forgot to put some arguments in this. Hold up. And it's not that important. I mean, I could have done it, but I'd rather go ahead and commit the change. Show more options, properties. So at the end of the target path, because I use a full config, that includes a custom localization, this will have to be put in. So language equals sign 1031 space dash no movies, apply and okay. Let's start it up again. So if you use a custom localization, and when I say localization files are edited, I mean like, revealing the mission stage, revealing the description of the mission, simplifying that process. Custom kill feed, like certain colors and stuff like that. All of that stuff falls under the category of localization. That's where you make all the word changes and the color changes and stuff. So you would need to have the argument dash language equal sign 1031. So that's what that applies to. And the argument no movies just means that there are no movies loading up. It skips all that. So as you saw, it didn't play any of that, the initial movie screen. Same thing when you're changing a district. It doesn't play that loading screen, So having that argument, no movies, basically disables that. So we made our change. We changed it from 0 to 60. We saved the file. We committed that change. And then we created a new shortcut to reflect that change. And we've opened the game through that new shortcut, which has that new change, right? So this should work 100%. Unless there's something else I am forgetting. So let's go ahead and test it out here. We'll head back to the garage kiosk. Press F, and there you go. We have fixed it. So if you find yourself using an edited file, something that you edit the code in, or something you're using from somebody else's config, always make sure you create a new shortcut. But before you do any of that, first always make sure that you've updated the game and you've repaired the game twice. I've also mentioned this in my past video. Please repair the game 2 times to fix any broken or corrupted files that may be lingering. When I say lingering, I mean like, a file that stayed behind or something. Just to be on the safe side, there's nothing wrong with making an extra step and being cautious, right? So, repair the game twice. After you've updated the game and repaired the game, create the changes you want to make, save those changes by committing those changes, create a new shortcut, put it on your desktop, and access the game through that shortcut so it reflects those changes in the game, right? So in this case, we did that. We fixed the loading screen. Now, you can keep it at that value, but it's going to affect your game in Mission District and Fight Club. Personally, I like to keep it at 0 because I don't find myself going into Social District and accessing kiosks a lot unless I need to do something. And at that point, I would just change the value back again. So let me go ahead and change it back here. Go to engine, config, base engine. Okay, change that back to 0. Control S to save it. Exit out of that. Get rid of the old shortcut. Permanent delete that. And create the new shortcut. Send to desktop, create shortcut. And we'll go ahead and put our arguments in that target path. So space, dash, language, equal sign, 1031, space, dash, no movies. Click apply and okay. So there you have it. That is the fix for it. I try not to make these videos as long. I try to minimize the time I take. Um, but there's just so much information I'm trying to like tell you guys as fast as I can without messing up on speaking so that you guys can clearly hear what I say. Um, but yeah, if you find this helpful, please leave a like, comment down in the sections if you're having any issues. I'll do my best to help you guys out. And of course, make sure to subscribe. That'll help the channel out greatly much. And yeah, hope you guys have a good day or a good night. And I will see y'all next time in a different video. Take care, y'all.